It's a return to the jazz age. The Great Gatsby is now on Broadway. Let's send it out to Beth Stevens.
Thanks, Tamsin. After spending years on the small screen, Sara Chase was preparing to return to Broadway in The Great Gatsby. That's when she faced a daunting and unexpected personal challenge. I sat down with her as she shared her story publicly for the first time. I want to ask you how you first started to be a performer.
My mother signed me up for the summer camp musical without telling me. So I did that as an activity. They gave me 3 lines. It got a laugh, and I've been chasing that ever since.
And when did you think this should be my career?
Actually, I knew when I saw my first Broadway show that I had to do that, which was Meet Me in St. Louis.
Which didn't last that long, did it?
No. But there was a little girl in there, Tootie, so I knew that that was something that I could do. And I've been obsessed ever since.
So you made your Broadway debut about 10 years ago or so in First Date.
Yes.
And then you took off and you did The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. You were a wonderful mole woman. And then you got the job of being Myrtle in The Great Gatsby at Paper Mill. Tell me what it was like for you when you first got that call that you got the job.
I hadn't done Broadway in 10 years, and I missed singing so much that I was happy to do it. I was excited to work that muscle again, because it's kind of scary being on stage and singing. And I thought that was a lower stakes way to dip my toe back into musical theater.
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey, yes.
And then all of a sudden, the producers decide to move it to Broadway at the very tail end of the season.
Yes.
That must have been like wild for you guys.
It was very fast. I honestly did not think I would have any involvement with it past Paper Mill, just because my only goal was to try to get back into musical theater and let people know that I still sing. But yes, it was an incredibly fast turnaround from Paper Mill to Broadway.
What do you love about playing Myrtle?
I love that she gets to be the comedic relief, at least in Act 1, and have fun. I have such a blast in Act 1. Act 2 obviously gets very serious, but she's a good time, and I love her wig and her costumes.
And you are kind of known as being a comedic actress. You have a lot of comedy chops. Tell me about that.
Musical theater and comedy are tied for my 2 loves. And then I get to do both in this, but yeah, most of my training is from Upright Citizens Brigade, Amy Poehler's theater, and most of my resume is things like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and The Simpsons, and I just love making people laugh. I love comedy.
Okay, we're going to turn from comedy to something a little more serious, which is you found out some staggering news while this transition was happening to Broadway.
I have the BRCA gene, which predisposes you to having either breast or ovarian cancer, and I have a family history of it. So right before rehearsal started, a couple weeks, I had my fallopian tubes out preventatively, because I thought if I didn't get it done now, it would be a year before Gatsby was over and I couldn't get it done. And I thought that would be it. And then the second week of rehearsal, my doctor called me, and I remember I was listening to All in the Family because our dialect coach said, you should listen to Edith Bunker. That's the accent you should have. And I just chose a random episode, and Edith was talking about if she had cancer, would Archie still love her or something like that. And I was like, that's weird. Then my phone rings, and it's my phone rings and the doctor says, are you alone? I said, yes. Why? He's like, are you sitting down? I said, that's not going to be good. So he was like, we found cancer in the fallopian tubes. So obviously the first thing you want to know is like, what's the prognosis? Is it like good? Is it bad? He was like, it's very, very early. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to get another surgery. You're going to get your ovaries out. You're going to have a hysterectomy, and then you have to have chemo for 6 rounds. And then, of course, my second question was, can I still do Gatsby? He and the other doctors really were so good about working with me and my schedule. We got out a calendar, and we just sort of tried to make it work.
How did you process that in terms of your career?
I made the decision, for some reason, not to tell anybody in the creative team or management, but I did tell Eva and Sam and Jeremy and Noah, the principal cast, and John, because we had gotten so close at the Paper Mill that it would be weird to hide something like that from them. And of course, they were so unbelievably supportive. And I felt like I didn't have to be in that rehearsal room with this. I was carrying a giant secret, but at least they knew that. I don't enter till scene 5, so I wasn't needed for the first 3 days of tech rehearsals. So we scheduled the surgery on the first day of tech. I recovered for 3 days, and on the 4th day, I went back to the theater. And no one knew except the stage manager and the assistant costume designer, because I had to explain why I was a little more expanded.
Wow, that's a lot to process, a lot going on in your life during that time.
Yeah.
What kept you going? What made you feel like you could get back to work?
I wanted to be on Broadway again, and I love this role, and I didn't see any reason why I couldn't do both. And I think it was just, I took it marker by marker. So, it was like, okay, get through tech, get through the first preview, get to opening, get to the cast recording. And every time I had something else to look forward to.
And there was a time when you finally decided to share this information with the whole company.
The company has been absolutely incredible. If I've learned one thing, you can't do any of this alone. And if I didn't have the company and management, I couldn't be doing both of these things. We can do hard things. It's not easy. I'm not gonna lie, doing both things at the same time, but we can do hard things, and we can only do hard things with the help of other people. And everyone has been so helpful.
Do you have anything with you backstage that inspires you or keeps your chin up?
Absolutely. I have a picture of Madeline Kahn and Gilda Radner, who obviously died of ovarian cancer, because they're comedy heroes. And I realized how lucky I am. And then I have a picture I keep of me and Nick Cordero in Toxic Avenger backstage to also just remind me how lucky I am.
How are you feeling today?
Every day it's such an up and down doing both of the, I keep saying I'm living my greatest dreams and my nightmare at the same time. So I just came from recording the cast album, which was such a high. Then I'm also starting to lose my hair, which is such a weird day. So all over the place, but everybody's been so kind, so nice, and so supportive. And again, I just remember how lucky I am.
I feel like we should explain a little bit for people who don't know that fallopian tube cancer is a precursor to ovarian cancer. Can you explain a little bit about it?
So the majority of ovarian cancer starts in the fallopian tube, which is why they recommend starting with the fallopian tubes. And it's very hard to screen. It's very hard to detect until...
Right, you don't get your fallopian tube screened. There's no
Right.
Diagnostic test.
There's no MRI or mammogram type situation, which is why it's so scary.
Is that why you wanted to tell your story publicly? Because of reminding people to be screened, reminding people to look into their family histories?
Yes, one of the first things when my doctor told me the diagnosis, I said is, I promise you, if I get through this, I will speak about it. In my opinion, if you know what you can do to help yourself, you should do it. And if I have to be a warning to people, I hope me telling my story will help other people not have to go through this.